This past week, got to see Wreck-It Ralph in theaters. My take on it? It definitely wasn't terrible. I think it had, I'm not going to try to give away any spoilers in this movie. But, I definitely give them, applaud them for creating a new internal conflict for the main character to have in this. Obviously, the number one comparison everyone's going to make is they're going to compare this movie to the Emoji Movie. Like, this is the Emoji Movie done right. And if you've never seen the Emoji Movie, good for you. I haven't really seen it yet either. Saw enough reviews online to tell me it's not worth my time. But definitely, I will say that Wreck-It Ralph 2, Ralph Breaks the Internet, takes that concept and handles it much better. And of course, the reason is the fact that it handles the main characters a lot better. It's it does create a bunch of, definitely shows how the main character's personality has been evolving in the time in between the first and the second, and creates a good story and forces the main character to have to make some decisions with his life. It's actually, the more I think about it, again, without trying to hear that much, try to give away too much about it, it's actually even more of a relatable, now that I think about it, much more relatable conflict, I think, for a lot of the audience members than even that of the first movie was. And then one thing I want to get to before I say a couple other things is, also, you've probably seen that scene that went up all over the internet involving a certain group of other famous Disney characters. I'll just tell you this. There turns out to be more to it than just that scene. I think where they go with that, you're gonna get a kick out of it. Just so you know that much. Like I said, the other thing about the fact that they were able to create a new internal conflict with the main character of this movie is where it works. What was able to make the main story work. And to take this to another example, that's the concern I have for making a second Frozen movie. And keep in mind, again, I'm one of the biggest fans of the first Frozen movie you're gonna find, especially in my age group. The reason I loved it so much, especially the writing, was the resolution of the main character's internal conflict was just so final. And as great as that story was, at the moment I kind of find myself not seeing how they're going to be able to create a second internal new conflict for the main characters, Elsa in particular, that's going to be good enough, if not better, to drive another full-length motion picture. They've got the comics that followed it up. They've had some small animated shorts and some book stories. Well, that's okay. You can create stuff like that, but to be able to craft a whole new storyline for a second full-length motion picture. At the moment, I'm just a bit skeptical as to whether or not they're going to be able to do that. They were able to do it with Wreck-It Ralph 2. Because I did think that even the way way the first movie ended, it ended with the potential to continue the story forward. I thought it should have been continued in a TV series myself. I thought, they gave Tangled its own animated television series. I thought Wreck-It Ralph was the better option to go and do something like that. And who knows, maybe that there's still the ability to do that, to spin it off from this second movie. We'll have to wait and see on that. The other thing that I really took with me, to be honest, at watching this movie was the previews that came before it. We joke a lot about lack of originality, lack of new ideas that Hollywood and the movie industry have created. And sometimes we like to think of it as just a joke. Here's what the preview trailers were that aired before the showing of Wreck-It Ralph 2 that I saw, which itself is already a sequel. It was previewed with, if I remember everything correctly, it might not necessarily be in this order. There was another How to Train Your Dragon movie, The Secret Life of Pets 2, the Lego Movie 2, and Toy Story 4. All of them movie sequels. And previewing another movie sequel, all of them from different studios. So you basically had a sequel to an Illumination film, a DreamWorks film, a Warner film, and a Pixar film sequel, all airing before a sequel to a Walt Disney Animated Studios film. I'm glad my words on the movie itself were comforting, but probably my words on those previews aren't very comforting for as far as creating new movies. And that's something that's the one thing that concerns me about Disney Studios right now. Frozen 2 is, I think, still the only movie from Walt Disney Animated Studios that's set in stone right now. Since they put Gigantic on the shelf. And it's definitely I keep saying they're definitely in a transitional phase, but it's getting a bit to the point where we have to have some concern, I would think. And yes, part of the problem is likely the fact that they're having to go through a transition with John Lasseter essentially being forced out with all the controversy he's going through. I don't know who they've officially appointed to replace him. If it would be someone like Jennifer Lee, I think the studio would be in good hands. They just need to come up with... It's definitely a situation where they're going to have to create more really original stories like Zootopia and Moana. And they can't just rely on adapting very, very old stories anymore. And that's going to take up some time. I mean, we're kind of spoiled here. I grew up in a time period where we got a new Disney animated movie every single year. In Walt's day, they released one every 4 years. So, part of it probably is just the impatience and probably spoiled situation that we've had for so long. But we're definitely in a wait-and-see type of period as to whether Disney can continue this revival for much longer.